ARMY hit. Jungkook's big move made Jimin unable to hold back his emotions. Loudly crying face fire in the midst of an increasingly hectic routine and demands that never stop, surprising news comes back from two names that always manage to make the world uproar every time a small rumor appears about them: Jungkook and Jimin. At first, no one expected that the day would turn out to be one of the most emotional moments in the journey of the two, a moment that shook ARMY around the world and left many people speechless. Even before the real details were revealed, it all started with a big step taken by Jungkook. A decision that not only shocked his fans, but also shook the heart of someone closest to him, Park Jimin. No one ever imagined that Jungkook's actions would make Jimin unable to contain his emotions, until tears became the only way for him to express what he could not say with words. The full story is much more complex, deeper and more touching than it seems on the surface. And behind the roar of public attention, there are layers of feelings that many people never realize. The day began as usual. Fans are waiting for small updates from both BTS members who, over the past few months, have often appeared in snippets of moments that always invite conversation. Their closeness, their laughter, and the emotional intensity that is sometimes tucked away in looks and gestures are always a magnet that never fails to attract attention. But at noon, HYBE suddenly released a short announcement that was not explained in detail. Just a few sentences, but enough to create a big wave on social media. The announcement mentioned that Jungkook has taken a big step related to his future in the entertainment industry. It is not clear what step it is. It was not disclosed what plans are being drawn up. But clearly, the decision is not a small one. The ARMY panicked. Korean media began to publish theories. International fans immediately tried to connect it with old rumors that are now alive again. But what the public does not yet know is how the announcement affects one person, Jimin. Before the announcement was released, Jimin became the first person to be notified by Jungkook himself. And what happened between them before the world knew it, that's what makes this news so much more emotional. Jungkook waited for Jimin in their old rehearsal room, a small space full of memories that only they and the other members understood how important the place was. There, behind dusty walls and mirrors that are now slightly scratched, there is a long history of their journey as trainees to become global superstars. When Jimin walked in, he could see from the way Jungkook stood that something was very serious. Jungkook was never good at hiding big things from people he trusted wholeheartedly. His normally lively gaze seemed a little hazy, perhaps due to the anxiety he was trying to contain. Young Jungkook said, his voice trembling slightly. "I've made up my mind." Jimin stopped. There was a long pause stretching through the air, a pause that only occurred when two people knew each other too deeply to pretend not to understand. "What did you decide?" Jimin asked finally, his voice soft but clear, as if he was ready to hear anything without judgment. Jungkook took a deep breath. "I decided to do something I've been wanting to do for a long time. Something that will probably change things. Not just for me, but for all of us." There were many possibilities that crossed Jimin's mind. But whatever it was, he felt his heart pounding uncontrollably. Not because he was afraid, but because he could feel how hard the decision was for Jungkook. "What is it?" "Jimin." This time a little slower, Jungkook finally said it. An act that took the world by surprise. A big decision that took a hit on the ARMY as soon as they heard about it. A decision that Jimin himself felt like a heavy blow, not because he was against it, but because he knew how much sacrifice lay behind it. He decided to postpone all entertainment activities for the long term in order to deepen his vocal studies abroad while preparing for a large personal global project that would take so much time that he absolutely could not intersect with the activities of the team. Jungkook wanted to elevate himself to a level he had never even imagined before. He wanted to find a new version of himself. And for that, he has to go. When those words came out of Jungkook's mouth, the world seemed to stop for Jimin. Jimin's eyes glazed over, but he didn't blink, as if he didn't want to miss a second of that moment. Not because he was angry or disappointed, but because he knew one thing. Jungkook's decision was not a decision that could be taken easily. Jungkook has always been known as someone who works non-stop. He was always pushing himself over the limit. But Jimin, more than anyone else, is a man who knows that behind it all lies a heavy burden that is often invisible to the public. "Why didn't you tell me before?" whispered Jimin. His left hand reflexively lifted, as if to erase worry from Jungkook's face. "I'm afraid," Jungkook answered honestly. "I'm afraid you're going to feel like I'm leaving you. I'm afraid you'll think I want to stay away. I don't want to worry you, Hyung." And that's where it all broke. Jimin finally lowered his head, covered his face with his hands, and for a few seconds, he did not say anything. The tears fell without him being able to stop them. Jungkook, who had always seen Jimin as a place to lean on, now saw someone who was crying not because of loss, but because of deep love and worry. He approached, grabbed Jimin's shoulders, and forced him to look back at him. "I'm not leaving for good," Jungkook said. "This is only temporary. And I want you to be proud of me." Jimin laughed a little in the middle of his cry. Jungkook," he said softly, "you always make me proud. Always." But he couldn't stop those tears. Because when someone closest to you takes a big step towards a new world, part of you must be afraid. Fear of change. Fear of distance. Fear of losing something that already means too much. When the announcement was finally released, ARMY immediately felt the effects. There was fear. There is confusion. There is a sense of loss. And when photos of Jimin with puffy eyes emerged of the staff accidentally capturing the moment after the conversation, the world took a hit. Many do not know what exactly happened. Many misunderstood, thinking Jimin rejected Jungkook's decision. Although the opposite happened, Jimin was the first to support the move, although his own heart was heavy. For several days after, Jimin tried to calm the hearts of the fans through short messages and small posts. He writes that sometimes a person has to take bold steps for the sake of his future. That Jungkook's decision was a major act deserves respect. But even so, the tone of the message still contains emotions that are clearly implied. On the other hand, Jungkook also tried to calm the ARMY. He reminded them that he wasn't gone forever, that this was a way for him to come back with something bigger, more mature, more honest. But the fans' eyes couldn't fool themselves. They knew Jungkook and Jimin were both hurt, albeit in different ways. But there is one thing that makes it all feel more touching. The night before Jungkook left, he and Jimin spent hours just talking. No camera, no staff, no spectators, just the two of them. When Jimin finally hugged Jungkook, it was no ordinary hug. It was a hug that contained a sense of worry, a sense of pride, and a sense of affection that could not be described in words. "I'll wait," Jimin said quietly in Jungkook's ear. "You do what you have to do. I'll be here when you get back." Jungkook closed his eyes, holding back the emotions he had been hiding. "Don't cry anymore, Hyung," he said, holding back a voice that was almost breaking. "If you cry, I can't go." Jimin smiled through his tears. "Stupid," he said slowly. "Go away. But don't forget to go home." And with those words, the two long bonded hearts were again tested by time and distance.